Just taking a few minutes to become centered, to take your awareness and your focus into the room, onto your mat, acknowledging this next hour is for you, to be fully mindful, fully present, moving with the breath, breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. Taking the focus and the awareness to your seat bones, really feeling those seat bones connecting to the earth. And from that connection to the earth, feeling the spine lifting up nice and tall through that spine, creating space between each of the vertebrae and the spine, taking the shoulders, rolling them up and taking the shoulders back down your back, creating space between the ears and the shoulders. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. Moving into a short pranayama exercise, we'll do some Nadi Shodhana breathing tonight. Nadi Shodhana breathing, sometimes called alternate nostril breathing or horseshoe breath, really helps balance the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So from here, taking your right hand and placing your right thumb just gently onto your right nostril, and placing the index finger and the middle finger on your third eye, and placing your right ring finger just gently over the left nostril, letting that right pinky finger just curl into the palm. And from here, breathing in through both nostrils nice and deeply. And then gently closing off that right nostril, exhaling just through the left. Inhaling through the left nostril. Closing it off, exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right nostril. Closing it off, exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. And then letting go, exhaling through both nostrils. Coming back to that nice control breathing, breathing in deeply. Exhaling slowly. Taking a moment to pause, noticing how smooth and even the breath is. Noticing how calm and centered the mind is. Knowing at any point in your day, if you feel a little bit stressed, you can just come back to that control breath. And by controlling that breathing, slowing that breath down, you let go of the stress, control the mind. And then from here, just gently opening your eyes, taking your awareness back into the room, sitting up nice and tall. Inhaling nice and deeply, really stretching all the way up to the sky with both hands. As you exhale, taking that right hand down outside that right side of the body, lifting that left hand up and over, stretching up through that left side of the body. Inhaling nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. And then inhaling, taking both hands all the way back up to the sky, really stretching up nice and tall. As you exhale, gently taking that left hand down to that left side, taking that right arm up and over the ear, stretching all the way up and opening up through that right side of the body. Inhaling nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. And then inhaling, lifting the arm up, and then taking both arms down just outside your hips. From here, coming over into our neutral tabletop position. So coming onto the hands and the knees, and just checking that your knees are roughly about a forearm's distance apart, and that your hands are roughly about a forearm's distance from the knees. So your hands should now be underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. Moving through our cat-cow exercise. Inhaling, as we inhale, dropping that belly, lifting the tailbone and lifting the head as we take a gentle curve through the spine. And then exhaling, coming around the other way, taking the belly up towards the spine, dropping that tailbone and dropping the head. Inhaling, coming through, dropping the belly, lifting the tailbone, lifting the head, opening up through that heart. Exhaling, gently curling the spine round in the opposite direction as you pull that tummy up, drop the tailbone and drop the head. Inhaling again, dropping that belly, lifting up through that heart. And exhaling, taking yourself all the way through into that cat, lifting up that spine, that belly. And then gently release, coming all the way back to the center. Well done. From here, inhaling, as you inhale, lifting up that right arm and taking that right arm all the way up to the sky, looking up through and over to that right thumb. Exhaling, coming all the way through, taking that right hand and threading underneath the left and coming to rest on that right shoulder, coming into our thread the needle. Picking up that left hand, taking it slightly in front of you, bending through the elbow, and just coming to rest on the right shoulder and the right cheek, feeling the opening up through that right shoulder. Breathing in nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. And then inhaling, taking that right arm and lifting that right arm and coming all the way on, up and opening up again, reaching up towards the sky with that right arm. And then exhaling, coming all the way back to center into that neutral tabletop position. Take a nice deep inhale. A nice long exhale. And then repeating through on the left side, inhaling, lifting that left arm and taking that left arm all the way up to the sky, looking up to that left thumb. Exhaling, taking that left arm down and swinging it through and coming through thread the needle, taking that left arm underneath the right, coming to rest on that left shoulder and that left cheekbone, picking up that right hand, taking it slightly forward in front of you, bending through that right elbow. And again, feeling the opening up through that left shoulder. Nice gentle stretch just to release the tension through the shoulders, warming up through the spine, warming up through the shoulders, letting all that tension go. And then inhaling, coming all the way up, lifting the left arm all the way up to the sky again, taking the gaze up and through to that left thumb. And then exhaling, coming all the way back down into that neutral tabletop position. Inhaling, curling through the toes. And then as you exhale, taking the hips back over the heels, keeping a bend through the knees as you slowly take that tailbone up towards the sky and come into a nice, easy downward facing dog, keeping a bend through the knees, letting the tension go through the shoulders and the neck. Start to walk through your feet, pedaling and walking your dog. Warming up through the feet, the ankles, the calves, the hamstrings, just taking some gentle movement all the way through. You may hear some clunks and clicks through the ankles and the feet. It's all good, don't worry about it, it's just your body warming up. And then from here, taking a deep bend through the knees, looking forward towards the hands. Start to slowly walk the feet up towards the hands, taking the feet up towards the hands, taking that left foot behind that left hand, that right foot behind the right hand. So your feet should be roughly about a hip width distance apart, keeping that bend through the knees.
Just coming into a nice easy forward fold here. Feeling the opening up through the hamstrings. Feeling the release through the shoulders, the neck. Maybe clasping opposite elbows, coming through into ragdoll if this feels good for you. And hanging in our ragdoll again, just feeling all that tension just slowly dripping away from our shoulders, from our neck. Maybe swinging from side to side if this feels good, if you feel a release of tension here. Maybe doing a quick body scan, just checking if you're holding tension anywhere. Maybe through the hips, maybe in the shoulders or in the neck. Just breathing and taking some gentle movements wherever you feel that tension, just in trying to encourage that body to let go. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, remembering to use that breath to help support you, to use that breath as a guide. Breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the nose if you can throughout your practice. And letting go of the elbows, coming back into that forward fold with that bent knee. As you inhale, dropping the tailbone as you start to uncurl through the spine and start to come up vertebra by vertebra as you gently lift yourself all the way back up to standing. Remembering there's no rush here, just coming up nice and slowly. Into Tadasana, our mountain pose. Well done. So mountain pose, feet about a hip width distance apart, all four corners of the feet grounding down into the earth. Navel in and up, slight bend through the knees, shoulders back and down, head just sitting just gently on top of the spine. Moving through our classical Surya Namaskara, just to warm everything up. Inhaling, lifting the arms up towards the sky, reaching up nice and tall. Exhaling, keeping a bend through the knees as you come back down into that nice, easy forward fold. Exhaling, picking up that right leg, taking that right leg behind you and dropping that right knee onto the mat, letting go of those right toes. Holding here in our low lunge or Anjasana. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then on the next inhale, start to take the arms up towards the sky, reaching the arms up towards the sky, feeling that opening up through that right hip flexor. Exhaling, taking the hands back down outside that front foot. Inhaling, picking up that front left foot and taking that left knee back so that it's parallel with the right knee, hips about a hip width distance apart. And then gently, knees about hip width distance apart, coming back into our child's pose. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then inhaling, as you inhale, start to wave the spine and waving the spine forward, coming all the way down to lying down on your mat, face down on your mat. Taking the hands just outside your mat to the sides of the mat, so a little bit wider with your hands. Taking a bend through the elbows, coming up into our gecko fingers, coming up onto the fingertips. Inhaling, coming up slightly off the floor, lifting the chest up. Just start to move through a wavy cobra. So again, we're just looking for that release of any tension through the shoulders, through the upper back, through the neck. It's generally where we try and hold, where we keep hold of tension, especially if we're sitting at desks all day or hunched over mobile phones. So just take some movement, however feels good for you here again, where you can feel that release of any tension through the shoulders, through the neck, through the back. Just breathing nice and deeply, moving from side to side, just waving our cobra. And then slowly releasing, coming back to lying on the mat, taking the hands underneath the shoulders. Inhaling, lifting through the core, lifting yourself all the way up into tabletop. And then exhaling, coming all the way back, taking the hips over the heels as you come into your child's pose. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then inhaling, as you inhale, lifting up into tabletop, and at the same time picking up that right leg and taking that right foot in between your hands at the front of the mat. Holding here in our Anjasana, our low lunge. Take a nice deep inhale. A nice long exhale, feeling the opening up through that left hip flexor. On the next inhale, lifting the arms up towards the sky, reaching the arms up towards the sky. And then exhaling, taking hands back outside that front foot. And then from here, inhaling, coming up onto the toes of that back left foot, and then coming forward and taking that left foot to meet the right foot, so you're about hip width distance apart with the feet. And then on the exhale, coming to a nice easy forward fold, remembering that bend through the knees until we're fully warmed up here. And then from here, just hanging in our forward fold just for a moment. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, just encouraging a release through those hamstrings. And then from here, taking a bend through the knees, taking the hips back as though you're about to sit in a chair, taking the arms up in line with the ears, and then inhaling, lifting yourself up, using that core to lift you all the way up to standing, reaching up nice and tall. Exhaling, taking your hands to your heart center in Anjali Mudra, prayer pose. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. Well done. And we'll repeat on the left-hand side. So inhaling, lifting the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming through into that forward fold, remembering that bend through the knees. Inhaling, taking a step back with the left foot, dropping down onto the left knee, letting go of those left toes, and holding here in Anjasana, our low lunge, feeling the opening up through that left hip flexor. Inhaling, lifting the arms up all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, taking the hands back outside that front foot. Inhaling, picking up that right foot and taking that right knee back parallel with the left. And then as you exhale, just sitting back on your heels, coming back into child's pose. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then as you inhale, lifting up through the core, waving that spine forward and coming all the way forward again to lying face down on your mat. Taking your hands underneath your shoulders. Take a nice inhale, a nice exhale. And then on the next inhale, engaging through that core, lifting up and coming up through into baby cobra. Exhaling, coming all the way back down to lying face down on the mat. Inhaling again, lifting up through that chest, pulling that chest up off the floor. Exhaling, coming all the way back down, face down onto the mat. And then one more time, inhaling, lifting up through the chest, coming through a baby cobra here. Exhaling, coming all the way back down onto the mat. Inhaling, lifting up through the core, coming back into that neutral tabletop. Exhaling, taking the hips back over the heels, back into our child's pose. Inhaling nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. And then inhaling as you inhale, coming up through into tabletop, and at the same time taking that left foot forward, placing that left foot in between the hands at the front of the mat. So coming into a low lunge with opening up through that right hip flexor. Inhaling here, reaching all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming all the way back, taking the hands back outside that front left foot. Inhaling, coming onto the toes of that back right foot, and then picking up that right foot and taking it forward, parallel to the left, about a hip width distance apart. Exhaling, coming through into that forward fold with a soft bend through the knees. Inhaling nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly in our forward fold. And then from here, dropping through the hips again, as though we're about to sit in a chair, taking the arms up in line with the ears. And then as you inhale, lifting yourself up, engaging through that core to lift yourself all the way up to standing. And then take your hands to your heart center on the exhale, Samastitihi. Well done, everybody. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then keeping everything nice and loose, everything nice and easy. Let's move through some swings up and down just to trying to let go of some tension. So taking the arms up and then swinging the arms all the way behind you as you take a deep bend through the knees. Inhaling, swinging the arms up. Exhaling, coming back down. So keeping everything nice and loose here. Just breathing with the movements. Warming up through those hips, warming up through the shoulders, just encouraging the body to let go of any tension. Breathing nice and deeply. And then last time, coming all the way up, reaching up towards the sky. And exhaling again, taking your hands back down into our Anjali Mudra. Well done. Moving through Surya Namaskara A, Sun Salutation A. So from here, again, your feet can be hip width distance apart, or you can take your feet together. You may want to practice with either, but if you're relatively new to yoga or have any low back issues, I'd recommend keeping your feet hip width distance apart. But if you're used to yoga and you like to keep your feet together, then it's your practice. You do what feels good for you. So from here, inhaling, reaching the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming all the way down through into that forward fold. Inhaling, coming halfway up, taking the hands onto the shins and using that to help you get that length through that spine, pulling the shoulders away from the ears. Exhaling, coming back down into that forward fold, remembering you can have a soft bend through your knees if that's where you are and that's where it feels good for you. Always protect the knees. And then from here, inhaling, taking a step back with one foot, then taking a step back with the other foot. And on the exhale, push yourself back into your downward facing dog. And then from here, gently dropping through the knees, and then gently dropping yourself down to lie face down on the mat. And inhaling, lifting up through into our cobra. Exhaling, coming all the way back down to lying on the mat. Inhaling, pushing yourself all the way back up into a neutral tabletop position. So from here, working through some planks. We'll begin by warming up through the wrists. So taking your hands, I'll maybe come this way so you guys can see me. Taking your hands out in front of you, coming into that neutral tabletop position. From here, just start to move your hands around in kind of like going out and then coming forward and then maybe coming in and then coming out. Just coming around maybe like in clockwise direction, just warming up through those wrists, making sure those wrists are nice and warm before we come through into our planks. Well done. And then from here, just taking a curl through the toes, sitting back over the heels, and then coming to sit up. So you're getting a nice stretch through the feet. If this is not comfortable at all and you need to let go of the toes, then by all means do so. But it's quite nice. We don't often really stretch our feet, so it's quite nice to come up onto the toes and feel that stretch all the way down the soles of our feet. And then take our hands together, gently clasping, and then start to just come through some gentle wrist circles in one direction. I can feel my wrist clunking and clinking here. And then slowly coming around in the other direction. Well done. And then maybe just some flashlights through the fingers just to warm everything up. Okay, so getting ready for our planks. If a full plank's not for you today, then you do have the option to come into the half plank, into a forearm plank, or you can just stay here in tabletop, thinking about putting some weight through onto your, as much weight through onto the top, upper half of the body rather than taking the weight to the lower half of the body. But if you are here, just make sure that the shoulders stay above the wrists. So don't come forward of the wrists with the shoulders, puts too much strain on the wrist joints. So make sure that the shoulders are either back from the wrists or just over the wrists. And then from here, either coming into the forearm plank, or you can come up into your full plank and just hold for a few breaths. If holding here is really not comfortable, come back into tabletop or come down into forearm plank. You come wherever feels good for you. There are options. Just warming up the wrists, warming up the upper part of the body, engaging through that core. Just getting used to taking some weight onto our wrists. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. And then gently lower, coming back up down onto the knees. And coming back into that neutral tabletop. Well done. So from here, take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale, and then slowly coming down onto the forearms, this time going into our forearm plank for everybody. Again, if the forearm plank's not for you, you can come back into neutral tabletop, or you can just gently drop down onto the knees and hold here, really engaging through the core. You choose wherever you're at, holding here just for a few breaths. And if you want to, you can maybe just gently start to come forward and back, rocking through those toes, warming up through the shoulders. Again, it's your practice. Take whatever modification feels good for you. Wherever you're at today on your mat, be accepting. And then gently release. And then from here, come back into child's pose just for a moment, taking a breath. And letting it go. Well done. Just warming up through the shoulders, through the wrists, getting ready for a little fun pose that I have planned for you for a little bit later on in the practice. So from here, tucking through the toes, taking the hips over the heels, lifting those hips up towards the sky, coming all the way through into that downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale, holding your dog, letting all the tension go from the shoulders, from the neck. Setting yourself the intention of getting the heels onto the floor. They don't have to get there today, and some days they go there and some days they don't. Just be mindful, just be watchful and observant, watching the body, realizing the body some days wants to do some things and other days not so much. And then from here, taking a soft bend through the knees, looking forward towards the hands. You can either hop or you can step halfway up the mat, taking the feet towards the hands. You choose your practice, coming halfway up. And then from here, coming back into that forward fold again, keeping a bend through the knees if that's where it feels good for you, keeping the shoulders away from the ears, keeping the navel in and up. Taking a bend through those knees, taking those hips back as though you're going to sit in a chair, taking your arms in line with your ears, and then inhaling, coming all the way back up to the center, reaching up nice and tall. Exhaling, taking your hands to your heart center. Samastitihi. Well done, everybody. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. Now come this way, moving into Utkatasana, our chair pose. So feet about a hip width distance apart. And then from here, coming down as though you're about to sit in a chair, taking the hips back, taking the arms up ahead and in front of you, and holding in our chair just for a few moments. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, and then taking the hands down to our heart center, and then taking our weight through into our left leg, picking up our right leg, and just crossing our right leg over our left knee, and coming here and into our Garudasana, our eagle prep, keeping that right foot flexed, opening up through that right hip, breathing nice and deeply, and then gently release, coming all the way back to the center, reaching all the way up to the sky with the arms, and then coming back through into that chair pose, taking the hips back in space, so we're going to sit in a chair, and then taking the hands to the heart center. And then from here, taking the weight over into that right leg, lifting up that left leg and crossing that left leg over the right, flexing that left foot as we sit down through, again, opening up through that left hip, balancing on one leg, finding our drishti points, and then slowly release. Well done, everybody. And then from here, coming back up to the top of your mat, getting ready for our sun salutation. Breathing in nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, really finding all four corners of the feet engaging to the earth, shoulders back and down, navel in and up. And then inhaling, reaching all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming all the way through into that forward fold, keeping a bend in the knees if you need it. Inhaling, coming halfway up, straightening out through that back, coming into our L shape. Exhaling, coming all the way down into that forward fold. Inhaling, stepping back with one leg, stepping back with the other leg, And then the exhale, pushing yourself back into that downward facing dog. Inhaling nice and deeply, lifting up that right leg all the way to the sky, coming into a three-legged dog. Exhaling, pulling that right knee in towards the chest, and then dropping that right foot in between your hands at the front of the mat, taking that right foot more over towards that right thumb. So you've got roughly about a hip width distance between your legs in terms of the width of the mat. For a nice stable base as we come into our high lunge. Inhaling, lengthening out through that spine, nice long spine, shoulders away from the ears. Exhaling, taking a small bend through that back knee as you pull in through that core and use that core to help lift you and come all the way back into a high lunge. Coming through dynamic lunges, inhaling, taking the arms all the way up to the sky, straightening out through the legs. Exhaling, coming into that lunge. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, lunging down. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, coming through into that lunge. And then one more time, inhaling, reaching all the way up. Exhaling, holding in that lunge just for a moment, feeling the opening again through that left hip flexor. And then exhaling, just gently coming all the way over that front right leg. Dropping down onto the knee of that back left leg, letting go of those left toes. Taking the right hand inside the right foot. And then start to walk that right foot away from the right hand and move that right foot up into the top right corner of your mat. So your foot's kind of pointing out slightly to a diagonal into the corner of the mat. And from here, just hold here. If you can feel the opening up through that hip flex, start again, Angela. If you can feel the opening through that right hip, stay here and feel the opening and just go with being wherever you're at, wherever feels good for you, breathing into that right hip, feeling the opening. If you want more and you're capable of more and a deeper stretch, then coming down onto the forearms and resting on the forearms. But remember, it's your practice. Only ever come to wherever feels good for you. No stress, no strain, and certainly never any pain. So just hold wherever feels good for you and just hold here and breathe into that right hip. Feeling the release through that right hip, opening up through that right hip. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, trying to let the tension go through the neck, through the shoulders, just letting your head maybe just roll from side to side. Breathing into the stretch. And then slowly, gently, if you were on your forearms, come up onto your hands. And then from here, just move that right foot back in and start to take that right foot to more of the center of the mat. And then take the right hand outside of the right foot this time. And then pushing up, coming through and taking your left, coming onto your left toes, and then turning that left foot. So the left foot, the sole of the left foot's on the mat, and the angle of the foot slightly about 45 degrees coming in. Moving into our Parsvakonasana here. So you can start here by taking the right arm onto the right thigh and holding and coming up and taking that left arm up over that left ear. This is where your Parsvakonasana is, coming through that deep bend, through that right knee, then hold here. If you want more, you can take that right hand inside the right foot, or you can take the right hand, my mic's getting in the way, you can take that right hand outside that right foot. So it's your class, as I keep saying, so you choose. Your thigh, your arm can be on your thigh, it can be inside the foot, or it can be outside of the foot. Really thinking about creating that nice diagonal line between that left hand and that left foot. Opening everything up along that left-hand side of the body. And then from here, just gently start to take that left arm all the way around in a nice big circle. As you lift that left arm up behind you, take that right arm up as well, and come up and through into our warrior two pose. So the hips are opening to the side of the mat, the shoulders are opening to the side of the mat. A deep lunge through that front right knee, arms up at shoulder height, trying to relax the shoulders away from the ears. And then inhaling, coming out the warrior as you lift your arms up towards the sky, straightening out that front leg. Exhaling, falling back into warrior two.
Inhaling, reaching all the way up, straightening the legs, straightening the arms. Exhaling, coming all the way back down. And one more time, inhaling, reaching up. And then exhaling and holding in our warrior two. Well done. And then gently taking the hands onto the waist, lifting up through that front right leg and swiveling that right foot forward towards the side of the mat, and taking the left foot and swiveling out towards the side of the mat so that both feet are kind of diagonally pointing into the corners of the mat, so we get ready to go into our goddess pose. Taking the shoulders back and down. Inhaling, reaching the arms up, straightening out through the arms, straightening out through the legs. Exhaling, coming through goddess arms and coming through into a goddess squat. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, coming all the way back down. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, coming into that goddess squat. And then inhaling, reaching up. And then one more time and just holding here. And then gently release, taking the hands back onto the waist. Swiveling that back right foot and towards the left side of the mat. And then coming forward with that left foot. So we're taking everything over to the other side of the mat with the left foot forward. Taking your hands outside that front left foot, coming onto the toes of the back right foot. And then from here, lifting up through that left knee and pulling that left knee all the way into the chest and taking that left foot back to meet the right foot, coming back into a downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. Well done. Inhaling, lifting up that left leg, taking that left leg all the way up to the sky into a three-legged dog. Exhaling, pulling that left knee all the way into the chest, and then dropping that left foot in between your hands at the front of the mat, taking that left foot more in line or more over towards that left hand, that left thumb. So you've got roughly about a hip width distance apart in terms of the width of the mat. Inhaling, finding that length through the spine, nice long spine. Exhaling, soft bend through that back knee, engaging through that core as you lift yourself all the way back up, coming back into that high lunge. Inhaling, lifting the arms up through the midline of the body, taking the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming back into that lunge, pulling the hands into the waist, into fists. Inhaling, reaching all the way up through the midline of the body. Exhaling, coming in through fists to the waist. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, fists to the waist. And one more time, inhaling, reaching all the way up through the midline of the body. Exhaling, coming through into fists to the waist and holding here just for a moment. And then gently coming all the way forward over that front left leg, Dropping that right knee back down onto the mat, letting go of those right toes. Taking that left hand inside the left foot, start to walk that left foot forward and away from the left hand, so the left foot's kind of pointing into that top left corner of the mat. And again, holding here, feeling the opening up through that left hip. If this is where you're at, be accepting of wherever you're at on your mat, knowing that everything comes in time with practice. And hold here, breathing into that left hip. If you feel you want more and you can want to come to a deeper stretch, come down onto the forearms and rest on the forearms and feel an even deeper stretch through that left hip. But remember, no stress, no strain, only ever coming to your own edge. Letting go of any tension you may be holding in the shoulder and the neck. It's so easy to hunch everything up here. But remember, we're looking for release of tension. So trying to keep everything nice and soft, everything nice and easy. Breathing through into that left hip, feeling the opening up through that left hip. Well done. Slowly coming up onto your hands if you were on your forearms. And then from here, gently edge that left foot back more towards the middle of the mat, taking the left hand back outside the left foot. Inhaling, lifting up onto the right toes, and then taking that right foot and placing the sole of the right foot down on the mat, turning it about a 45-degree angle in towards the top of the mat. From here, coming through our Parasvakonasana on the left-hand side, you can take that left elbow or that left forearm onto that left knee, and then come up and take the right arm all the way up to the sky, Really find that diagonal line all the way through the body here, opening up through that right side. If you want more, you can take the left hand inside that left foot, or take that left hand outside that left foot. Wherever you're at in your practice today, be accepting, be mindful, remembering to be present, remembering to breathe nice and deeply into the pose. Exhale nice and slowly. And then inhaling, swinging that arm and taking it around the back as you lift that right arm up towards the sky and lift that up towards the back of the room, and that left arm out to the front. Coming through into our warrior two here on the left hand side. Opening up the hips to the side of the mat, opening up the shoulders to the side of the mat. Drishti is the middle finger of that left hand. And then from here, moving through some dynamic warriors, inhaling, taking the hands up to the sky, straightening out through that front leg. Exhaling, dropping the hands back down to shoulder height, taking a bend through that front knee. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, coming down. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling and holding here in our warrior two. And then release, taking the hands onto the waist. And then from here, swiveling around onto the toes of that back right foot, stepping that right foot up towards the left, coming to stand at the top of your mat. Taking your knees, your feet maybe a little bit further apart. We're going to go into Malasana, which is our squat pose, our Hindi squat. So come to wherever feels good for you. So I'll demonstrate first of all, and then I'll show you an option if this doesn't feel good for you. But just basically coming down through into your squat and holding here in your squat, if you can, a nice straight back, taking the hips down towards the earth. Holding here. If the squat's not for you tonight, then what you can do is you can come and just take your feet in front of you and then start to take the knee over and then opening up through the knees and opening up through the hips. So this is a nice option if the Hindi squat's not for you. But the Hindi squat's a really nice one to try, even if you're not coming all the way down. It's really good for opening up through the hips. So if you can, come into Hindi squat or come into your version of Hindi squat and just hold for a few breaths. But again, if it's not for you, then go with the moving the knees backwards and forwards. So again, we're just setting up for our fun pose, opening up through the hips, strengthening up through the shoulders and the wrists. Well done. So from here, just taking your hands down, letting go of those legs, and maybe just stepping your feet back. And then dropping your knees down onto the mat, taking the toes together, taking the knees a little bit further apart. And let's come into our child's pose, just gathering our breath, getting ready for our next move. Our next pose, which I say is just a bit of fun. You can try it. But if you don't want to give it a go, that's absolutely fine. As I say, it's just a bit of fun, just for tonight, a Wednesday night, middle of the week. So coming up, let's try our crow pose. I'll come this way so you guys can see me. So if you're not very comfortable with crow, you've not tried it before, you could take a cushion and just place it in front of your forehead or just in front of the mat here behind you. And you can get a block if you want, and you can come up onto your toes with a block. But you don't need all of this. You may not need it. So taking the hands in front of you, and taking them about shoulder width apart, really feeling like you're putting your weight into your hands, coming up onto your toes, and then taking your knees just outside your arms here. So coming up onto your toes, and then holding here. Now, if you want to stay here and practicing just coming forward slightly on your toes and back, then you can stay here and just practice your balancing here, if that's where you're at today. If you want to try the crow's pose, then you're going to take the legs and take the shins of the legs and just gently place them over the tops of the arms. And when you're coming up through crow pose, you really want to think about pushing into the arms and pushing into the legs to create that balance. And then from here, you can just practice taking one foot off if you want to keep your balance here, or you can practice taking both the other foot off, or you can come onto the block
I'll demonstrate with the block. I've never really tried it with the block before. Let's give it a go. So you can come onto the block and take the toes onto the block. If you want more height to come up, you can try it this way. But if you want to try the full pose, and the reason I've got the pillow here is sometimes people overbalance and they topple over, but if you can topple over, at least you land face first in a pillow, a nice soft landing. So from here, taking the legs in towards the arms, getting the balance, finding that drishti point for your gaze, lifting up one leg, and then slowly lifting up the other leg and holding in your crow pose. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. And then gently release. Well done. So hope you give it a go, bit of fun. It's something to try at home every now and then, give it a go. So from here, sitting back on your heels, coming back into child's pose. After all that fun, let's come into our nice curled up child's pose where we take the thighs together, we take the arms just outside our thighs, and just rest here just for a few moments, taking the forehead down onto the mat, letting the arms just fall away from the body. If you didn't manage crow pose, it doesn't matter. It's just a bit of fun. Sometimes people find it really easy, other people don't. It's like every pose. Some comes naturally to others and not to some people. It's a nice one to practice though. It's really good for that single point of focus, concentration. Good for the balance. Good for strengthening through the wrists. And it's a nice party piece. Well done. So from here, coming up, and then slowly coming over to lie on our backs. Coming down to lie on your back. Taking your hands outside your hips, bending through the knees, soles of the feet on the earth, about a hip width distance apart. Moving through our bridge breathing. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then on the next inhale, start to move through bridge, lifting up through those hips. And at the same time, lifting the arms up, taking the arms back over your head. And then as you exhale, lowering those hips and lowering those arms, coming all the way back to neutral. Inhaling again, lifting up through the hips, taking the arms all the way behind you. Exhaling, slowly lowering those arms and lowering the hips. So the focus here is to move with the breath. So really making that breath last the whole of the movement of lifting the arms over your head and lifting the hips up towards the sky. And then making that exhale last as long as it takes you to land your hips down onto the mat and your hands down onto the mat. So coordinating the movement with the breath, coordinating the movement with the hips, with the movement of the arms. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. Really becoming mindful of the breath and the movements here. And then slowly coming back to the center. From here, taking your hands behind your head, taking your knees up just above your hips, moving through some yogic bicycles. Let's move my mic out of the way. So from here, lifting up through the chest, taking the shoulders up off the floor, and then start to move through our yogic bicycles, taking the opposite elbow to the opposite knee, engaging through that core. Remembering to breathe nice and deeply, moving from side to side, keeping the shoulders up, keeping that core activated. Breathing throughout the move. And then slowly coming back to the center, dropping the core, putting the knees in towards the chest, giving yourself a nice big hug here.
And then from here, taking the feet back down onto the mat, taking that right leg and crossing that right leg over the left leg. And then picking up your hips and just moving them ever so slightly over towards the right hand side. Taking the arms out to the sides of your mat. Then start to take both knees over to the left side of the mat and coming through that twist through the body, feeling the opening up and that stretch all the way through that right hip. Opening up through the chest, keeping both shoulders connected to the earth. Feeling that twist through the torso. And then slowly release. Coming back to the center, and we'll repeat on the other side. Taking that left leg, crossing it over the right leg. Picking up the hips and moving them slightly over towards the left. And then taking both knees over to the right side as you open up through that left hip. Feel that stretch through that left hip. Feeling the opening up through the chest, keeping both shoulders connected to the earth. Twisting through the torso. Twists are really good for relieving tension, releasing tension from the body. Well done. And then gently coming all the way back to the center and uncrossing the legs. And then from here, just taking the legs up towards the sky and just holding the legs up towards the sky. Just letting all that tension go from the legs, from the feet, from the toes. Letting all those heavy metals and all the toxins just gently drain away from the legs. And then slowly shake the legs and start to take them down onto the mat. Then the legs fall out to the side, then your arms fall out to the side, coming into our Shavasana, our relaxation. Letting the hips melt into the mat, letting the shoulders melt into the mat. If lying on your back's not comfortable, then you can lie on your side or lie on your belly. Just come into a nice, easy, relaxed pose where you can just let all that tension go. Maybe letting the palms face up towards the sky, backs of hands resting on the mat. If that's really not comfortable, then you can take your palms and face them down if you want to feel a bit more grounded tonight. Feeling the tension start to drift away from the body. Giving yourself permission to relax, let go, switch off that monkey mind. And from here, imagining a bright blue star. And that bright blue star comes down and rests on your forehead. And as that star rests on your forehead, it reminds you to let go of all thought, to empty the mind, and just be here now on your mat. That blue star then moves and gently taps your right shoulder. And you can feel all the tension melting away from that right shoulder. Taps your right elbow, your right wrist, your right thumb, your right index finger, your right middle finger, your right ring finger, and your right pinky finger before it comes to rest in the palm of your right hand. And you can feel all that tension just drifting away from that right hand, and that right arm is sinking into the mat. That blue star then touches your right wrist, your right elbow, your right shoulder, before it moves over and taps your left shoulder, your left elbow, your left wrist, your left thumb, your left index finger, your left middle finger, your left ring finger, and your left pinky finger, before it comes to rest in the palm of your left hand. And you can feel the whole of your left arm now relaxing and sinking into the mat. The blue star taps your left wrist, your left elbow, and your left shoulder. It then comes to rest in the center of your chest, just above your heart. And then moves down to your navel, your solar plexus, and rests there just for a moment before tapping your right hip, your right knee, your right ankle, your right big toe, and then gently taps each of the remaining toes in that right foot. And you can feel the whole of that right leg relaxing, melting into the mat. Taps your right ankle, your right knee, your right hip. Moves over and taps that left hip, that left knee, left ankle, left big toe, and then each of the individual toes remaining on that left foot. That whole left leg's just sinking into the mat. The blue star taps your left ankle, your left knee, your left hip. Comes to rest in your navel. And then just above your heart center. And then it makes its way slowly back up to your third eye in between your eyebrows and rests on that third eye. Reminding you to let go of all thought. Reminding you to just relax the body. You're now completely relaxed into your mat. From here, imagining a bright white light above your head. And that bright white light's pulsing with energy. And as you breathe in that white light through the crown of your head, and it comes down through the crown of your head, making its way all the way down your spine. And it branches off each of the nerves coming off of your spine, making its way down through all those nerve endings, reaching all the cells in your body. And it starts to fill all the cells of your body, lighting up your body from within. Each cell is now full of that bright white light pulsing with energy as you feel that white light energize the whole body. And then inhaling, taking the arms and reaching the arms up over your head, stretching the arms all the way above you. As you stretch the legs all the way out in the opposite direction, nice long body. Feel that whole length through that torso. And then inhaling, pulling the knees in towards the chest, giving yourself a nice big hug here. Maybe gently rocking from side to side, gently massaging that spine. And then slowly rocking over onto your right side if you can, and holding in that child's pose on your right side just for a moment. Just letting that central nervous system reset. And then slowly, gently in your own time, making your way back up to seated, coming back into that nice, easy seat. Sitting up nice and tall, nice long spine. Shoulders away from the ears. Breathing in nice and deeply, and as we exhale, a nice big sigh. So breathing in, exhaling with a big sigh. Breathing in again, filling up those lungs. And one more time, breathing in nice and deeply. Exhaling, sighing it out. Well done, everybody. Taking your hands to your heart center in Anjali Mudra. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. From my heart to yours. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed your yoga practice tonight. I hope you enjoyed trying the crow pose, giving a little bit of a go. Something just a little bit of fun, just a little bit different. And hopefully see you again on your mat real soon. Good night, everybody. Have a good evening.